Ignition sequence on. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Hi guys, I'm Rochelle Humes and this is Ladies Who Launch. Each episode will dive into the journeys of aspirational women who started from scratch and built their dreams into thriving empires. These are the founders, the risk takers, the go-getters that are changing the landscape and making their mark in the world of business. We're here to celebrate their wins, dive into their challenges and share the invaluable lessons they've learned along the way. Ladies Who Launch is about sharing the inspiring stories that could empower you to take your own leap. So get ready to be uplifted by the resilience, creativity and unstoppable determination of today's most extraordinary women. This is your girls group chat for business and beyond. Our guest today launched her fashion brand during lockdown from her bedroom after taking a leap of faith by leaving her day job at ASOS. From this, she's built one of the most in-demand brands in the UK, known for its refined aesthetic, minimalist style and rapid growth. One product made her over £100,000 within the first 3 months of launching. Her insight is one that I wish that I would have had as a young female aspiring to be an entrepreneur. She is here today to share her journey and unstoppable rise within the fashion industry. Welcome to the podcast, Aimee Smale. Just a quick one before we start. If you like listening to this episode, which I know you're going to, please like it and subscribe to our channel and don't forget to share it to your group chat. Thank you so much for being a guest. I'm so excited to talk to you. This is like two Essex girls having a good old chat. I'm really looking forward to this one. So I want to start kind of way back when, because obviously Odd Muse was kind of born in like concept, you creating it over lockdown, right? Yeah. But before that point, you were a buyer at ASOS. Yeah. How did that look?
So it was my first job from uni. I was assisting a buying team. So I would like raise all the POs. I would check the stock was inbound in. But I always say that gave me like a really realistic visibility to what it would actually take to launch a brand on like a big scale. So units, how much cash you would actually need, how much time you would actually need to ship stock from China or anywhere else in the world. Them really like tedious admin tasks as my first graduate role was I honestly think one of the reasons why Odd Muse had such a successful start.
I think it's so interesting because everything you've just described is my worst nightmare. That's the bit that I can't bear about being in business, that I feel like I've had to learn all of that along the way. Yeah. And the creativity is what I love. I love the creative side of it. So it's kind of nice that you had that real understanding as well as being creative. Yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go into having a brand, because it's exactly that. I was maybe lacking the creative side at ASOS, but I was still able to I was really, really lucky with my actual buyer. She would get me involved in all the buying appointments. I would go to brands and make some selections, but that was really it with the creativity side of things. But yeah, I was just exposed to so much at ASOS with all these tedious tasks, and I guess that's why wouldn't be my worst nightmare. But I always wanted to be a buyer. Like if I didn't start Odd Muse, in my head I was like, I want to be a big time buyer. I want to be in and out of New York, in and out of Hong Kong. I think I just enjoyed the gritty side of it really, and like the numbers and stuff.
And did you always want to be, was it a fashion buyer you always wanted to be?
Fashion buyer, yeah. And the only reason I started plotting and planning Odd Muse was just because I quickly realised that as interesting as buying was, I just wasn't going to get anywhere in ASOS.
Right.
And I also recognised that I wanted to do the work, but I'm just not that character to be like really sort of competitive in a work environment. So if there was like loads of girls going for the job, like I would shy away. So I kind of instead quit my job and started a business, which is a bit wild. But yeah, I just felt myself like in meetings just not speaking up, and I just started to become more quiet in ASOS because every day I was like, I'm just not going to get anywhere.
Well, it's such a big company, I suppose it must sort of feel like a bit of a rat race. Like,
yeah, exactly,
you're part of a big machine, aren't you?
Exactly that. And like a lot of people who I used to work with have moved on to other companies now. So I kind of think you either need to like jump from company to company and be really cautious of your own progression, because companies like that just aren't going to protect it, understandably, because there's so many people.
Yeah, of course. And it's so hard to, I suppose, nurture that many people and, like, you know, invest in that person, help them grow when you're trying to grow a business.
Yeah, I think the point where I was like, this isn't for me is, and I've never actually said this before, but I remember the two years I was there, they cancelled our pay rise the first year, and the second year they called me in for a pay rise of £25 a month.
Oh.
And I was just like, you shouldn't have even told me. Like,
It left a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it really did. I was just like, they can't, like, yeah. And that's when I realised I can't be here for like 2 years to only earn like £25 extra a month.
Well, when you
and I
start
was working so hard.
Yeah, and when you start thinking about your own self-value and your own progression, and it is kind of, it always goes back to that same thing that you have to look after that.
Yeah.
Because you actually can't rely on anybody else to. And it's a nice 100%. Idea to think, you know, this team of people are propping you up and supporting you and cheering you on, but actually they've all got a job to do and they've got their own margins and their own numbers to meet.
100%.
And
100%.
only you can make you shine, I suppose.
Yeah, and when you're in a big company like that, a lot of things are generalised. So if ASOS was struggling, maybe the department wasn't yours specifically, but overall you're going to take that hit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just started plotting and planning Odd Muse over lockdown. I had a lot of time on my own.
See, lockdown did that thing to people, didn't it? Where you kind of just baked banana bread and ate and waited for Boris to tell us we could go out again.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it sort of really made you productive and creative and excited for, you know, what's to come.
Yeah.
How did you go about planning it? Because obviously I'm assuming over lockdown you're still working for ASOS. So you're working remotely at that time.
Yeah.
So how do you go about planning your own brand?
So to be honest, I used to plan Odd Muse a little bit from like a sketching point of view, like on my commute to ASOS. So I just used to sketch on my iPad. So I had an idea of if I was to launch a brand, what the products would be and maybe what the messaging would be. Because when I started ASOS, I remember I was so excited. Like a lot of my friends are a few years older than me. They've been in the workplace a bit longer. So I was expecting to just like come into this money and be able to buy all these clothes, and it just was, for any graduate job, that just isn't a reality. So didn't have much money and would go to buy clothes, and there wasn't really anything that was above PLT, above Zara, but not high fashion, like high luxury. There was really no mid-luxury price points. Like I wanted to spend £100 on a jacket, but there wasn't really anyone offering me that. So yeah, I just told myself that I was really onto something here, like mid-luxury fashion for young people that don't want to shop fast fashion, especially like Pretty Little Thing. So yeah, I just was like, I was just ignited. Like I was like, I'm just really, really onto something here.
This is what I would want to buy. They say the best things happen like self-indulgently, don't they? Because
100%.
If you feel the real need for it,
yeah,
then...
I always say I was the consumer with the problem offering the solution. And that's what they say in business. You always need to be looking for a problem that you're essentially going to solve. So yeah, that's why I was like, this is amazing. And then over lockdown, I got moved departments in ASOS. I got moved to the beauty department. And a lot of people at ASOS loved that department. But for me, I just absolutely hated it because I wasn't doing any more selections in fashion. I was just like doing replen orders for like the Pixie Glow tonic and like, just like putting them orders in with suppliers. And all of a sudden, like every inch of job satisfaction was taken from me.
Wow.
So I would literally get up in the morning, put all them orders through, save as much time, and just start working on Odd Muse.
Wow, that's so interesting because actually, like you said, zero job satisfaction because that isn't your niche. That's fashion is the thing that kind of you've got the drive for.
Yeah.
But actually, if you hadn't have been given a job that to you feels really mundane, you wouldn't have maybe had the time or the headspace to focus 100%. On your own project.
I think I was like 50% there, and then just like moving departments and giving it a bit of a go just tipped me over the edge a little bit. I did get moved back to my old department because I was literally crying week on week to come back. But there was just a situation where they was going to move someone off, and I just said, I'm going to go.
Gosh.
It just literally, the morning I quit my job, I didn't wake up thinking I was going to quit my job, but I just was like, this is a sign that I just need to take it. And I think also, I was 22 at the time, and I think anyone who is like that age or around that age, you can get another job.
Yeah.
ASOS wasn't looking out for me. I could have got another job at another company.
But it takes a lot to be that fearless, though, Aimee. It really does, to say, okay, we're in lockdown.
Yeah, I know.
This is a real good time to start something new and quit my job. Like, it's amazing that you took that leap, but not everybody would.
Yeah, I just always boil it down to what's going to happen, and the world wasn't going to end if I had to get another job. I was so happy to just get into another job, and if any of my new workmates asked, I'd be like, I started a brand, but I'm here now.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I was so willing to like not be embarrassed. And
I think that's what stops so many people. Like, you see that, like, don't let the fear of embarrassment stop you from doing what you want to do. Because I think we live in a time now that when you fail, I believe that failure is just a lesson as to, what to not do the next time. But when that happens, you do it loudly. Yeah. Because part of everything now, particularly for you, and we'll touch on that in a minute, that you share everything. You share the highs, you share the lows. And if something doesn't work out, you fail quite publicly now.
Yeah.
And I think that puts people off.
Embarrassment was definitely like a whole theme for like my first couple of years of business. Like whenever I'd launch a collection that didn't go well, people would be like, how did it go? Or like when I first started Odd Muse, everyone, friends and family would be like, oh, so you're starting a brand, and you have to like go through that story, and you do feel a bit shy and embarrassed to say it. But you get over it. It's fine. It's just a reality.
Never let embarrassment stop you from starting.
Exactly.
It's so
it's going to be a theme throughout your whole journey.
So you might as well be a lot you're going to be embarrassed about.
You might as well get stuck in.
So let's talk about, you quit your job, and obviously starting a brand is going to take some financing. How did you get to that point?
So this is a really random story, but during lockdown as well, we go back to sort of people baking banana bread, and everyone had like their own little small business. So I basically taught myself the basics of graphic design. I designed Odd Muse's logo, and I would do £10 logos for all local businesses.
Stop.
Yeah, so random.
That's genius.
Yeah, so everyone who was starting a baking business and starting a little Instagram page, I would basically do £10 logos. And at one point I was doing like, I think one day I did like over 30 logos. So that was what actually helped me build the capital for Odd Muse. And it over the few months, it did develop. Like I started doing like brochures for like local electric companies, and it become quite a thing. And there was a month where I basically took around £10,000, and I was like, yeah, I'll just start my brand now.
That's amazing.
I know.
So you just really you seem to have that ability to utilise the space that you're in and kind of make hay while the sun's shining.
Oh yeah, my mum always says like, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I love that. So you actually designed Odd Muse's logo with that skill set.
Yeah.
That's
I taught
incredible.
myself Adobe Illustrator, and the rest was history.
Gosh, I love that. So how much capital did you raise to start Odd Muse?
So I started Odd Muse with £12,000. Majority of that was spent on stock. The rest of it I did myself. So I did the logo myself. I set up the Shopify site myself. I did everything myself. And that main money, which I think when you're starting a brand, was all into stock, because at the end of the day, your stock is how you're going to get your cash back.
Of course.
So yeah, it was all on stock.
And was it quite hard for you to decide what that first drop would look like? Because I know you focused, and you're so known for the blazer, aren't you? Was that a conscious decision, or was that like, I've got some money here and I've got, we know what it's like with MOQs and placing orders and how that might look. Was it a conscious decision to say, I'm going to streamline this and be known for a blazer or something, a piece that's going to work really well? Or was that, this is what I'm going to do with the money that I've got?
For the blazer, I had designed that a long while before launching. So essentially, when I decided I wanted to start Odd Muse, I only had that one product in the bank. I did build a bit of a collection around it, but none of it really sold. But I remember I got like a 50 unit minimum quantity order with my supplier. And I remember with the blazer, I was like, I'm just going to double the blazer. I'm really going to take a chance on the blazer, because I just know that this is what I want to be known for, and this is also what supports what I'm saying. Like that luxury that mid-luxury price point, you're gonna want to rewear. And also, I think where I was launching in lockdown and no one could wear it anywhere, I kind of needed to sell you something that you would want to wear when you got out of lockdown.
Be excited about.
And it not necessarily being something that you can wear for the weekend, this weekend coming, because you're in lockdown. So yeah.
I suppose that continues to be obviously launching in that space, but that continues to be your messaging, isn't it? When I
Yeah.
look at Odd Muse and when I think of Odd Muse, it's like incredibly well fitted, and it's those kind of timeless shapes that you can continue to wear over
and
and
just
over
like
again.
easy pieces that you can still like wear and feel like quite elevated in, but you've owned them for a long time.
So what was the moment? So take us. So you've got this £12,000. You're doing everything. You know, you are the staff at this point, right? You get the collection together that you're happy with. The moment you press go, how do you remember that day clearly?
Yeah. What, in terms of starting Odd Muse or like getting the stock in and
the
just
moment
launching?
you go live, the moment you're like, okay, we've got to this point now.
I remember I had always planned to stay at ASOS until the Christmas, and I was launching in August. And that moment where someone was leaving the team, it all happened very quickly. That was around 2 weeks before we launched Odd Muse. But I think I'd sat with the idea for years, like travelling to ASOS, then lockdown. I was so like blindly confident in it. So we launched just at the end of August of 2020. I remember getting a few orders on the first day, but I remember within the second or third week, Lorna Luxe, do you know Lorna Luxe?
Yeah.
So she had basically bought the blazer, and I remember I was packing the order and it said like Lorna Andrews. And I remember saying to my boyfriend at the time, like, oh my God, like I'm praying that this could, for whatever reason, be Lorna Luxe.
I was going to say, did you put 2 and 2 together?
I didn't.
Yeah,
I honestly didn't. I was always say to myself, like, I loved her so much and I wanted her to wear the brand so much above anyone else in the world because I just, through this journey, she's become a good friend. But back then, when I feel like I was like her biggest fangirl, it was because like I love her authenticity. Like I love how she just genuinely has this fabulous
She's so
life.
brilliant.
She's so fab and she's so like she comes on stories like me with like no makeup on. She just chats to her followers. It's so candid, and I think it's so rare.
It's so rare, and I think she's carved out because it takes such time to be that consistent and that committed. And I think I will buy anything she's putting on her face.
Yeah, I mean, when I worked at ASOS, we'd call it the Lorna Luxe effect. Whenever she would use a beauty product or wear anything from
you would
ASOS,
see it.
Yeah. So she basically just posted on her story that she had bought this blazer and she's taking it to Paris. And my whole like iPad just was like flying, like everything sold out. And I'd only had 100 blazers, but I remember that point, it was actually, I don't know why, I was just in the kitchen with my boyfriend's dad and I just cried to him and was like, I've just broke even. And he was like, don't know what to do because I'm just crying. So I broke even within like 2 weeks on the whole investment. We took like £15,000 that day that she posted. And then I had all these people asking me when the restock was, and like from a buying point of view, we can chase stock. So I was literally like, right, let's light these skills up. And I ordered 700 units with my supplier, did not have the money to pay for them 700 units. But I put a pre-order live like a week later. And I remember that day we took around £60,000. And that was gosh. And that's continued to be a theme for Odd Muse and why we've been able to scale with no investment. Because we've always had this pre-order strategy, which now we are moving out of. Like I think we have a goal of only like 10% of SKUs on the site now being on pre-order. But yeah, that's the reason why we've been able to scale with our customers really.
And it's such a smart, for anybody looking to start a business, and because that cash flow and topping up that cash flow, it can be a reason why lots of brands kind of fall, because they might have these opportunities, but being able to sort of maintain that.
Yeah, and I think knowing what to do when you are presented a moment such as Lorna Luxe wearing your blazer or anything like that, knowing exactly what to do, because people's attention span is so low now. So especially during them times, it was literally like a 3-second TikTok scroll. So I knew I needed to act fast. I couldn't just order these units and tell everyone in 6 weeks they'd landed. I needed to do it now.
And by that point, is it, because that is such a big moment to know that you've broken even so quickly? I mean, it's just like, thank goodness. That's like the position that anybody would want to be in. Yeah. At this point, is it just still you, or have you got people helping you? Have you then started to sort of build out a team?
Yeah, I have a big team. I have around 35 people.
But at that point, when all of these sales are coming through,
oh no, it was just me. It was like friends and family helping pack orders. I didn't get my first hire until we was like way past 100,000 in revenue, because you're just like, the last thing you're thinking of is finding 30 minutes to interview someone. So yeah, most part of the first year was just me and like my friends helping me pack orders.
And it's just crazy to think that day, someone like Lorna placing that order. And I think that's what speaks volumes so much for small businesses, you know, and at the time you were incredibly small. When somebody with such influence speaks, and it's not a gift, and, you know, that's really kind of her to share that. I bet you was thinking, okay, when is she in Paris? She said, I'm taking this to Paris.
I remember
just
she
waiting.
messaged me back, like, I'm going to Paris tomorrow to get like my first ever Kelly bag. And I was like, I'm going to die. Like, this is like my dream, like, that you've even bought it, let alone you're wearing it in Paris to debut your new Kelly.
And so crazy that she, like you say, that she was kind of talk of the office at ASOS, and that kind of has continued with you on your journey.
I just don't know how that moment happened. But yeah, that was just such a huge moment for me.
So in terms of like, I'm always interested in like strategy, in terms of having a strategy, has it been a case of it's kind of unfolded and then there's a strategy that comes from them? Because I can only imagine in those first few weeks, everything that was happening for you was kind of beyond your wildest dreams.
Yeah, 100%. The only strategy was just being social first, and just sort of the same way I've just described, like how Lorna speaks to her followers, like them days for me very much just I didn't even have a warehouse. I had like a tiny storage unit. And I'd be on my Instagram stories like, I can't believe this has happened. I'd be telling everyone I used to work at ASOS, but I've quit my job and I'm doing this now. And I've kind of continued that. I'm always telling people what we're working on, even if it over the last 4 years it's definitely got a bit more complex, but I still share it with everyone. And that's been our social-led strategy the whole time. Obviously now we do loads. We do like Google ads and activations and pop-up stores, but the main core is always that social lead, and 50% of everyone who comes on our site every day is organically come from our Instagram. So it kind of carries on.
And what's so interesting, I feel like there's this real kind of hunger now you want to know about the founder when you're buying into a brand.
When I was launching, I definitely like missed that. Like I didn't have that from anyone. So when I was launching, I was kind of like, I don't have a marketing budget, so all I can do is use me as my advantage and share and be that person that I kind of just desperately needed to follow if I had a supplier question or anything random like that, all them random little bits when you're starting. At the time, there wasn't really anyone saying that. There was huge brands and you kind of knew the founders, but they wasn't sharing that sort of it, and they don't have to. What's
interesting is you've kind of, I suppose, without knowing, become the poster girl for brands kind of being a little bit more honest and a little bit more transparent and sharing the founder's story. And I feel like there's a new wave of people really, everyone is interested in the founder. But when I think of that kind of play and that strategy, I think of you. For you, was it a strategy or you were just genuinely sharing?
I had no budget and all I had. Like I was saying, look, I'm going in there. I want to be at the calibre of House of CB. I want to be at the calibre of all these other brands. What do I have that they don't? They've got huge budgets. They've got, you know, a lot of followers. And then I just come to the conclusion that it was me. They don't have me.
It was a very good light bulb that went off.
But that's also with anyone starting a business. No one is you. No one is in your everyday. No one has, you know, your story. So just...
Why not talk about it? So I wonder, though, with that comes with quite a lot of weight and quite a lot of pressure, because the job that you do, which is obviously it's your baby, you're running a brand, you're trying to make everything work, you're now running a team, you know, it's a big old kind of, it's a hefty weight to carry. Sharing it at the same time, does that feel like now a bit more therapeutic for you? Or do some days do you think, oh God, I've still got to talk to everyone, I've also got to, you know, I'm modelling today.
You know what, I kind of do it I still give myself that grace. Like if I really don't feel like doing it today, I won't. I do give myself that grace, because also I feel like if I was to force myself to get online and talk for a second just for the sake of ticking a box, I feel like my followers would know that.
Yeah, oh, of course.
They like love the fact that I do just like come on. Sometimes when I'm not feeling it and I do just want to upload, I will just say what's going on, and I've really let go of like I don't care for it to be glamorous or
no. But that's what's so nice.
In my pajamas, like I feel like there's a bit of a stint with like even mid-luxury brands that everything has to be like really like almost a bit mysterious, not Odd Muse.
No, but I think that is it's that Odd Muse appeal. Yeah. And I think that is what is so interesting is that without knowing it, I think you've carved out a space that actually you're seeing more people thinking, oh, she's got the right idea. But it wasn't calculated for you.
At the beginning, but now it is a full-blown strategy. Like Black Friday, it's like, get online and
now the team are like, Aimee, can you just get on there and talk to everyone, please?
Yeah. Everyone's like, if there's something so soon, they're like, guys, can you just talk about it? Can you talk about this for a second? But I kind of just try and keep it as candid to my everyday and not too product-led, because I don't like to ever feel like anyone thinks I'm trying to sell you something. I'm always trying to spread awareness about Odd Muse, but not really from like a salesy point.
No, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels it feels very much like we're at work with you, or this is your story and this is what you're passionate or excited about.
It to feel because I have a lot more pleasure of someone just like following us and enjoying our content over just like purchasing something and not really knowing who we are as a brand and stuff like that.
I want to touch on sustaining a business financially, because I know we spoke about pre-order becoming quite a strong strategy, and it's something that really does help brands early on. How have you, bearing that in mind, how also have you managed to scale without having massive financial backing? Or because we do see it a lot that people get to that point where they're like, okay, this is going really well, but as well as it's going, I'm struggling to keep up here. How do you think you've managed to sort of stay at an even keel?
Pre-order definitely is the most part of that. I remember very early on, maybe like a year in, I got into a bit of a situation where I constantly just had to use all my money to replenish the blazers. But then I didn't really have any money to work on any like new styles. And I kind of needed that second bestseller. Yes. I couldn't just keep relying on the blazer. It was working, but it wasn't going to last forever. And I remember at that time, I took out like a £20,000 loan that I put back into Odd Muse to work on newness. Right. So I don't think loans at the beginning, when you can really justify it, is a bad thing. Yeah. I think that's much better than, saying to someone else, like, I'll give you
here's a bit of my company. Yeah.
I think that's, if you're still small and you only need a bit of cash to get you to the next step and you feel really confident in that, I think loans are a good thing at the beginning. But since that's the only real investment we've ever took, if you would even call that an investment, it is really, it's first of all being smart with your margins, which is again what ASOS buying taught me. I knew like the minimum percent I needed to be hitting. I knew the minimum percent I needed to be hitting if I wanted to wholesale my products one day as well. I knew ASOS were expecting at least a 50% margin out of everything that they buy. Yeah, I kind of margins and pre-order strategy. Pre-order strategy has also made our products more desirable. Yes. So
I am a sucker for that. Yeah. I'm like, if I can't have it yet, but I've seen it and it looks incredible.
Yeah. So still to this day, we buy very tight for our launches. They sell out and even more people come back for the pre-order. But we purposely buy tight because I never want to be left with waste, and with a collection I always want to try something new. Yes. So we kind of we're going low on the units just because we don't know how it's going to go, and it protects us just in case it doesn't go well. But 9 times out of 10 our launches always have this effect where it's like they're sold out and people want it.
And are you finding it gets closer and closer each time? Because the more you're growing, I suppose.
Oh yeah, definitely. Our minimum buy now has definitely grown a lot over the last 4 years. And in our like core pieces, so like our blazer, our jumpsuits, when a dress is really sort of like, okay, this is one that's going to stand the test of time, we make sure that's always in stock. So yes. Immediate. So she only sells out maybe like 2 or 3 times, and then we'll make sure she's always there on site for someone to buy.
And I suppose that's really smart as well, because like you say, everybody, and I am like a marketeer's dream, by the way. If something seems like I can't have it just yet, but I've fallen in love with it, I'm that person that's like, but then you only have a short kind of attention span. Yeah. So after a little bit, you're like, okay, I want to know that it's there now. So it's quite a smart play, isn't it?
Everyone knows for like a new Odd Muse launch, you do have to be online. And if you are online, like 5 minutes later, you do run the risk of going to pre-order. So our customer is very she knows that.
They know. They know how this works. They don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about, because there's so much success that's happened for you in such a short space of time. You know, if we're talking 2020, it's not, we can all remember that like yesterday, it's really not long ago. And we're talking Forbes 30 under 30, the London store, which is, you know, having a store in Covent Garden is just huge. The pop-up store in New York, which I've loved watching play out, and even down to like watching the interior design and watching it all come together. I've loved looking at it all. With great success, there has to be challenges because that's just not realistic, right? And, you know, if only it was just an up road to success. Has there been a moment that you thought, right, okay, we might need to rethink this here?
Yeah, so many times. There's been, I mean, the last like 4 years has been like week on week a problem that I like don't know the answer to. Yeah. And I'm like a bit scared of what's going on, but then I'm scared of someone asking me what the solution is. So being that like person for the first couple of years of business is hard. It is. Because you kind of just want to be like, I don't know, but you kind of have to know. So I think that's just been like a running theme. I think it's definitely been a huge sacrifice in my time. Like I travel a lot. I started the brand when I was 22, and I have dramatically become a different person. Really? Like when I was 22, I just used to have like so much fun, as all 22-year-olds do, and I feel like it has just made me a bit more of a serious person.
Because of the responsibility.
Whenever I have free time, I literally just need to lay horizontal at home. Like I don't really like, if someone asks me to do something on the weekend, I can be a bit miserable. So I think it's definitely been that. I think before I moved out, I always think back to like the last couple of years when I was living with my parents. I kind of regret how I maybe come across, because I'd get in every night like absolutely floored. They just want to know about my day. It's so exciting. I've started this business, and I'm just like, please don't ask me about work. Yeah.
But with all the excitement does come so much stress, so much uncertainty. Yeah. And, you know, times that are going to be... Yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster.
Sometimes in the last 4 years, we could literally be going to like a family gathering, and I'd just say to my boyfriend, I really hope no one asks me about work. And he'd be like, they're going to ask you about work. So it's kind of been like that. Sometimes it can make you a bit of a miserable person.
I know exactly what you mean, because it doesn't...
And that's not me. Like I am typically like... There's just certain weeks and months that it just gets you. And I feel like a little bit, it's like an out-of-body experience. Like I'm not myself. Like there's been so many periods of time over the last 4 years where I'm like, I'm not myself. But now I'm like 27. I've got 3 years to 30, and I'm just really like more... I'm not more bothered about myself, but I'm kind of just like putting myself and Odd Muse at like the similar...
I do think that happens. I think like for myself, there was like a 30 light bulb that went off that was like, I don't know why that... I'm like 35 now, but something about turning 30, I felt really self-assured. I started saying no a lot more. I was such a yes person, and I think I was always scared. And I think maybe that's like the working class, self-employed kind of mentality that I will always find hard to shake. Yeah. I think something goes off when you're like, actually, come on now. Like I'm in my own. I felt like I was in my own body a little bit more. And I think there's something that does happen. And it will. It
kind of dawned on me. I think last year we did Fashion Week, and it was like an amazing experience. And everyone asked me, was that the best day of your life? I was like, no, it was so stressful. It was like chronic stress.
But you often hear that. I don't want to
remember things like that.
No.
Like New York, I made it a conscious effort to get more people involved and make it more of an enjoyable experience. Yeah. And now I can look back on the New York pop-up and be like, that was a big project, but it was like the best thing I've ever done. And I had such a good time in New York. But
I think that's learnings as you go, isn't it? And I think that's part of the growth, that actually you realise that these opportunities, as incredible as they are, they're really short-lived. Yeah. And sometimes if you don't like sort of pinch yourself in the room and act a little more present. Like my mum... And she says it to me a lot of the minute, like, be where your feet are. Like, just be in it. Because actually, you're probably thinking, okay, this is great. But actually, I've got to place that order, and this is happening tomorrow. And it's really easy not to kind of celebrate every milestone.
Yeah, 100%. But I do think them years where you just, like, completely, like, flatten yourself and you're just agile to whatever the brand needs, that has led to the success of Odd Muse. So I don't have too many regrets. I'm just like, I just need to switch it up.
Yeah, and it's character building too. Yeah. Like, and also if you can get out of the trenches, I find, and you know how to do it, you'll always compare it. Like we had quite a, we had a bit of a legal situation earlier on in the year, And for us, it was like, at the time, it was so heavy, and all I could think of, and every time my lawyer called, I thought, I just want to throw this phone out the window. However, it was like, it's only shown growth since, and it was all business related. But actually, it's now like a benchmark of, this period of time is really stressful, but it's not that. And we made it through that. So I think there's always that leveler, isn't there, where you're like, you know, things can, at the time, appear heavy, but you can kind of...
Yeah. So I think that's been the challenge, really, just like the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And just getting through it.
Yeah, but like you said, as soon as you're aware of it, you kind of live life a little bit different. Yeah. Was there a particular collection that didn't pan out as well as you thought or hoped it would?
Oh, 100%. With coming out of like the blazer sales and the blazer being such a success, I didn't know what that next collection was. Yeah. And I failed so many times. So I did a massive summer collection, and we did like a big party in LA for it, and none of it sold. Wow. And that really taught me my original strategy, like less is more, but good product is everything. Whereas I kind of got like very happy and just designed this collection, which wasn't Odd Muse, and it didn't make sense. But I thought I could just back it with a big party in LA. I'm so glad I learned that early on, because we went straight back to our original strategy, and I really wanted to start doing dresses. And I constantly told myself, well, Odd Muse is this seasonless brand. We need to be doing everyday wear. It can't be a dress. But then I kind of landed on wanting to release a dress that you would maybe pull out every Christmas. And it didn't have to be like your everyday wardrobe, but it was still something that you'd hang in your wardrobe and you'd always go back to. And that was the birth of our pearl dress, which
so good.
was our second moment. I always say it was like my second lifeline, because I was really getting to a point where every collection was fading. I didn't know who Odd Muse was beyond this blazer. And then we released this dress in 2022, the Christmas of 2022. And it just changed the game totally. I remember the first 2 years of Odd Muse, we was only really seeing sales in America. Wasn't really seeing many in the UK.
That's interesting.
And then when we released this dress, we had so many orders in the UK. We've kept that Odd Muse UK customer. And we essentially become a dress brand. We do bridal now. We sell like every single day, top 5 bestsellers a dress.
Wow, that's so
getting
interesting.
into the dresses category was really through failure. And yeah, that really changed the game. Now we're trying to go back a little bit, because dresses, they have high returns. A lot of people will buy 4 dresses and you're constantly competing, especially in the bridal market. So now I'm kind of like, I have this customer I've had so many customers that's bought a dress from me, but maybe she does want like a pair of really cool jeans or something like that. So I think we're trying to like move into other things now, but keeping our dresses constantly on site. But yeah, there was definitely that point where I just didn't, as a designer, I needed to get better. Like I needed to be a better designer. And yeah, the pearl dress really like taught me I'm a dress designer, 100% through and through.
And what's so interesting is also knowing, I suppose, what your customer wants next. I think that's that's a really hard thing to...
Especially when you're not like a trend-led brand. But if you look at Odd Muse products, they are very inspired by what's worked before. So like a strapless dress, a capsule dress, a pearl dress, everything's sort of very inspired by that. So we kind of always look back on like, oh, what did she like last year? What was the bestseller here?
And moving forward in that vein. And that is so nice, like you say, that you're not necessarily trend-led.
Yeah.
It's kind of good pieces for your wardrobe all year round.
I think if you're going to be looking at what, celebrities are wearing on the red carpet and stuff like that, you're always going to find yourself competing with fast fashion and like other brands that do tend to do that. Yeah. So we always go by what our customer kind of
How
like
interesting, though, that you're saying that actually you're now known as a dress brand. You actually are, because I know it started with the blazer and that was kind of your first moment, but I think of you as a dress brand. I really do. But having to fail or learn lessons in that space has made you what you are now, which is it's having that outlook that we spoke about earlier.
Some of Odd Muse's like stuff we bought out in 2021 just haunts me.
Does it?
Yeah, like majorly. But it was such a good lesson. I was like, I learned that my customer doesn't really like colour unless it's like really highly requested, like a red at Christmas.
Yeah,
or like
it's like a classic colour.
Like a nice khaki going into fall. And just, I just learned so much about her. And also like I matured a lot in the way in which I dress from 22 to 27. So it's kind of grown with me as well.
Yeah, because it's quite crucial, like ages, aren't they? But there's a lot that's going to change between 22 and 27. I would hate to look at pictures of what I was dressing like at 22, you know?
Yeah.
And kind of being responsible for a brand as part of that is quite a lot of pressure when you're finding your own feet.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there anything about being a founder that has kind of surprised you that you didn't expect?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know.
Or is it every day a surprise?
Yeah, really. Yeah, I can't really pinpoint. I think what surprised me is how far we've actually taken it. So I remember everyone always asked me, what's the 5-year plan for Odd Muse? And people have always asked me that from the beginning. But honestly, like, it wouldn't have been this, like what we're doing now. If someone asked me in 2020, it would have been to maybe have like 100,000 followers on Instagram, to be able to sustain my own like employment without having to go back to work. And like, we're just like way beyond that. So I think the biggest surprise is New York. Like like when you seeing that queue outside, like across the pond, is just like crazy. Like I was saying to the girls leading up to it, I think we can get 20 people outside. I think we can get 20 people. And there was like 300 people around the block. Every single one of them knew about Odd Muse. Like when we had the queue outside London, we were kind of, by the time we got to the end of the queue, we'd be speaking to girls and they'll be like, I'm just joining the queue. Like I kind of want to know what's going on. Whereas in New York, around the block, every single person was like, Odd Muse is finally in America. Like we've been waiting. We haven't ordered yet because we want to try for our size. And it was just like the most surreal experience.
I can only imagine.
That's a surprise, yeah, because you just don't think I just didn't think my brand would travel like that.
And look at it.
Yeah.
But what's next? Like, what do you aspire to now? Because that is just
New York
a dream.
In like June, and we did it for November. So I'm very last minute with everything I do. So I go to China next week, and all the girls are like getting ready for me to be like, we're doing this, we're dropping this dress, I've designed this dress, I've made this one here. That's what I need to work on. I need to be like...
That's your timekeeping almost.
Yeah, I get like
time management.
Time, really. Mm-hmm. Like, really, I should have like my summer collection designed, but I'm going to go to China and just do it. So everyone's like, oh, I really hope you do it because you kind of need to.
But isn't that sort of, you can see like how your face lights up when you talk about that?
Yeah.
Like that's your buzz.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for everybody else.
I would love to, like, sometimes it doesn't always work out that way and it's a little bit stressful and we need to get it done, especially when you're working with wholesalers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what I need to work on next year.
I can't believe you turned around. I'm just actually registered to me. June to November, the turnaround for New York. That's, wow. Yeah. That's quite something.
I only approved the space in like when I flew there in October. Yeah.
Gosh.
We can work under pressure.
So, yeah, that's giving pressure cooker. I like that. Right, we're going to do a rocket round now. So basically it's quick fire and I like a waffle. So we'll try and do these kind of non-negotiables as quick as possible.
Okay.
Speaking of, what are the non-negotiables you feel for when launching a business?
Oh, I think I'm going to try and not waffle too. Non-negotiable, I think knowing that you need to sacrifice all your time and like being prepared for that. When launching a business, you need to sacrifice money. A lot of people get very scared to spend money. A lot of people will, I'm going to try and not waffle here, but a lot of people maybe put all their money into products and then won't have a marketing plan. You should at least be doing like a little bit on ads and stuff like that. That's like the second piece. And I think that would be that, knowing that it's going to take time and money.
Yeah. And being realistic with that.
Yeah.
When did you first realise that you truly launched and made it?
When I did the 700 units on pre-order. That was just like sitting on the stairs looking at my mum and dad like, do I say that I've just made £60,000 or do I just sit here on the stairs and just... Yeah. So that was the moment.
Like, is this right? Am I reading this right?
I did an article with Business Insider a week later and that's how they found out. They was like, sorry, what? And I was like, I wasn't really going to disturb your night and say that.
Gosh.
Yeah.
How do you even keep that to yourself?
I just was like stunned. So, yeah.
I
just was like that and like laid awake all night looking at the ceiling like, what is this?
I
felt like I was in trouble.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because now there's a lot of work attached to those 700
I was
pre-orders.
thinking, like, what is this okay? Is this right? So yeah, probably that moment.
I love that. What do people usually seek your advice for?
Supplier stuff, like how to find a supplier, how to actually manufacture it. I feel like there's just not enough like content online for it. So that's probably the main thing.
If someone's going to call you, they'll pick your brains about that.
And that's the longest thing when I was like, oh, I just need a founder to just answer this question. That was it for me as well.
Can you answer that question? Whilst we're here, I'm going to interrupt the rocket round.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So with suppliers, I think you definitely need to figure out where in the world you want to manufacture. So when I was at ASOS, I was on premium brands. So I was working with a lot of like mid-luxury Australian brands because mid-luxury has always been a thing there. And I just knew that they was importing from China. And I just, honestly, I had about 150 conversations with different suppliers in manufacturers in China. I would ask them what their lead time was because obviously if they was going to turn around and be like 300 minimum quantity order, I'd have to say no. If they told me what other brands they worked for, I would normally say no because I don't want them to disclose that about me.
Yes.
And yeah, I ended up landing on someone who was very much like me. She'd just started her business and it was just a very lucky thing that I landed on. But yeah, so many pages of Google and talking to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ask as many questions as possible.
So my first year of Odd Muse was like leaning into my supplier like she was my business mentor. I'd be like, I know this is a silly question, but I need like a really high quality zip. What's a high quality zip? And she'd tell me, we need a YKK zip. And she would like take me through everything. So whole first year is just asking questions.
Yeah, and it's not feeling silly in
They
that.
want your order at the end of the day, so they're going to answer your questions. So really leaning into suppliers like they are like your business mentors.
Yeah, that's good advice. I love this question. What brand do you wish that you'd founded?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh my God, I don't know. Odd Muse is really my dream brand. Like, I'll be honest, I don't want that to come across.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's something that Odd Muse is really like my dream brand from like inside out. And yeah, it was kind of carved from what I felt like I was lacking as someone who really wanted that. So I don't really know how to answer that question.
You don't need to. You've answered it.
Yeah.
You founded
Wardrobe
your dream.
NYC is quite cool though.
Oh, Wardrobe NYC. Yeah,
I love that
Wardrobe
one.
NYC is
Sometimes
so
when they release a brand, when they release something, I'm like, it's very Odd Muse coded. I'm like, I wish I thought of that.
Oh, really?
So
that's so
the only-
interesting.
yeah, I'm always like,
I
I
love
wish-
Wardrobe NYC.
Yeah,
And when they do a drop,
amazing.
it's kind of...
Yeah, it's so just like very just like clear, concise to the brand. So Wardrobe NYC.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I like that. If you could choose one female figure as a mentor, past or present, who would it be?
Do you know what? I think Grace Beverley. We've become quite friendly since I've done her podcast. But I remember going to her podcast, I was like so nervous, and I felt really inspired by her. And I feel like she's juggled a lot and she's dealt with a lot, and we're like a similar age. So yeah, I've always found her really, really inspiring.
She seems like the best multitasker ever. Like
She's
I always
the
feel like
most-
she's
that's
spinning so
why
many plates.
she's there. Actually, she's so productive. Like, and her planner, like I just don't know if I could run my business without it.
Really?
Yeah, like it's just so well thought out, and just the way in which she plans her days is like she needed to put that in a planner.
Gosh, that's the best advert she's going to get.
Yeah, so from like a productivity point of view, but also like she's dealing with like a huge business and like a lot of people and stuff, and she's doing it pretty well.
And she seems to make it fun. I feel on the outside, I feel like it seems
and she's
fun.
very founder-led as well. So I think, yeah, probably Grace.
Okay,
Yeah.
love that. If you could trade one of your current skills for a superpower that would help your business, what would it be and why?
I think mine, if this is a superpower, would be right now to clone myself.
That's incredible.
That like to just have like just be able to be two places in one time, but be able to like that would
Another
make
you.
my days so much easier.
When you find the route into doing that, and that there isn't some scary conspiracy theory on Instagram,
Yeah.
please tell me.
Yeah.
That would just be
Definitely
incredible,
to
wouldn't
clone
it?
myself. I'd
Clone
give up
yourself.
everything for that.
Yeah, and you know that it's another version of you, so it's going to be done in the way that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, so definitely to clone if that is a superpower.
It's a superpower.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Daily.
So each guest, I asked to leave a tip to our listeners, someone sort of that could be inspired by your success. If there was something you wish you'd have known, what would that be?
I think for me, because it took me so long to start, I think you just need to take everything out of it for a second, all the emotion, all the fear of starting, and understand that research is free. Developing your skills with, you know, the resources available online is mostly free. So if it's a fashion brand, start sketching, start speaking to suppliers. Even if you don't know if you're going to do it, get all these things lined up before you even have to start worrying about how much money it's going to cost you, how much time it's going to cost you, whether or not you need to quit your job. Just sort of like start on all them things, because it's going to be character building. It's going to, like your skills are going to develop by the time you launch. So yeah, kind of start it as a hobby first.
Yeah.
That's what I did with Odd Muse. Let it be your hobby and just fall in love with it for a second before you invite all the stress.
That's such good advice, because like you say, then everything that you've been studying in your spare time when it wasn't as stressful will always come back.
Yeah, and it kind of protects your creativity as well. Like when I was first thinking about Odd Muse and putting all the ideas in, I really wasn't like, I didn't know if I was going to go to market, so I wasn't really thinking about how much it was going to cost and how much time I'd have to put into it. It was more fun.
Yes, so try not to take the fun out of it at an early stage.
Yeah. Because the fun will get taken out of it.
That's going to happen. So don't you do it.
Hold on to that.
Exactly that. And I am incredibly nosy, right?
Yeah.
So we hope that our listeners will listen to this in their lunch hour and get inspired to launch their own baby, however that looks. But I love to know how people spend their lunch hour. It's something that I'm so interested in. What do you order? What do you eat? Do you make something? Do you step out the office for lunch? How does your lunch break look on a day-to-day?
Oh, God. My dream lunch break would honestly be spending like 40 minutes making like a really nice complex salad.
Oh, okay.
Like really, like I love cooking. It's the only thing that I will do that like my mind is only on the dish.
Yes.
But I don't get that every day. Like every day is different. So sometimes it's just like a sandwich. But my dream lunch is just taking 40 minutes at home to just like really prep a chef-style salad.
And how good do you feel, by the way, when you've done that? When you kind of feel like you've nailed it, don't you?
I feel like the rest of the day is just like easy.
And you arrive into work with your little prepped lunch, like shaking your salad, all smug.
That's like that's my dream lunch.
Okay. And do you have your lunch at your desk, or do you step away, or do you take time for yourself?
Honestly, it's so different. Like a lot at the moment, I'm like very much at home trying to design as much product as possible. So it's a little bit like lost. It's
working
like me
lunch.
rolling off the sofa, like making that salad. So it's a little bit all over the place. A lot of the time I'll have lunch in meetings and stuff like that. I'm like, sorry guys, it's my only chance
mouth's
to
full.
eat
Sorry
today.
about that.
Can I eat? Do you mind? But yeah, the dream is just like a salad at home, just like quiet, no one, just on my own.
Phone on airplane mode for a second.
Yeah, that's my dream.
Well, thank you so much.
How do you spend your lunch break?
Oh, that's a really good question. At the minute, I feel like I've been very lazy on the prep. I feel like life's got in the way a little bit.
Oh yeah, I only probably get like 1 or 2 times a week to do that.
Yeah. So I'm like taking out a salad, like a tuna cardo. I'm opposed to a spicy tuna.
Yep.
But yeah, it depends where I am. But I like to say, okay, let's have lunch.
Yeah.
And let's kind of step away from this at the minute.
Second,
But yeah, it depends if you're working from home. Working from home has thrown a spanner in the works, because I feel like you're just grazing all day, aren't you? With your laptop and something next to you. Yeah, but I do like to stop normally. See, it's good. It's interesting, isn't it? I want to know what everyone's eating. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's been so good to chat to you. And you are kind of just smashing it, honestly. I know that from... When it's you...
When you told me the lineup, I was like, why am I here?
No, are you joking me? You were on our first list of people. Everyone's obsessed with you. And I think what you're doing, I think sometimes it's overwhelming, and you think when you're in it and you're so involved, it's so hard to see how much you're shining on the outside. But you're shining, girl.
Oh, thank you so much.
You really are. Thank you.
This is like a career highlight for me.
Stop.
It really is.
You're making me blush.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it.
Ah. Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss out, because next week we're going to be talking to another incredible lady who launched. If, like me, you're a watcher, follow us on YouTube and make sure that you like and subscribe.